Welcome to Carter's Country Club. This is episode 2, Bikes, Buoys, and Ballet. My name is Ann Taylor Lashbrook-Wright, and I've got a lot of questions. The first one for today is, are you raising a boy?
I told you once, I told you twice, I told you 3 times, never gonna be your bride.
This is Carrie Rodriguez from one of my favorite albums. It's called Seven Angels on a Bicycle.
My sister Liz said, come on down, tell me what you've been doing at night in Austin town.
So this is Carter, and I'm hoping that this slide makes sense. You see the images of Carter on a ballet bar, you see the image of Carter in a pool, and you see the image of Carter in a store with a balance bike. Again, the focus of this episode is bikes. I think that's pretty clear. Buoys, maybe that's not clear. I am thinking of water. I'm thinking of buoys, but specifically, I'm thinking of pull buoys. So, if you were, are, or know anything about competitive swimming or swim training, there are these buoys, these little foam flotation bits that you put in between your legs when you're pulling or using only your arms. And when I was growing up on a swim team, I thought it was called a pull boy. So I love to tell all of my kids that, and sometimes they get the humor and sometimes they don't. But this episode is all about gender, and I have recorded this many times in many different ways. And I'm gonna go back to what I was doing, which are short segments, and and hopefully that will upload and work well. And I'm wearing all black, so hopefully my shirt doesn't offend, or I don't know. I don't know why all these things have had a hard time uploading and, all of the things, but we're just going to keep moving on. I want to show you my setup a little bit for today because it's a little different. Hey, so normally, or at least when I've recorded before for all of episode 1, I was just here with the computer and you kind of could see some things looming in the background. But I want to talk about my plans. And specifically, I've talked a lot about my plans, the broader vision of Carter's Country Club, but I really want to speak about what I want to do online with you and what I'm here to invite you to take part in. And so I wanted to take a moment today to kind of show my little bit of setup in my home. And if you used to know me years ago when I taught Beyond Movement online, you're very familiar with this setup. But I also specifically wanted to draw your attention to something that maybe you didn't see, because typically my camera was sitting at the bottom of the stairs, right? Um, and so you would have the camera was pointed down on me where you can see the mat, and you could also see the wall in the background. Used to have a couch. Now my computer is here. The keyboard is here. All the guitars, mandolin, ukulele, all those are up on the wall. And then Carter has his toy setup over here in the corner. But what I wanted to talk about today and what I want to invite you to is to train, right? And I'm going to talk a little bit more in this presentation about what I mean by that. But I wanted to take a moment to let you see specifically one item. So I'm going to move over here and kind of take my webcam up a little bit so you can see. There it is. Nope, no, I'm not talking about Carter's hat and rain shell. I am speaking about that mirror. And hopefully you can see some of the other equipment, right? You see the kettlebells and you see that there's a pull-up bar in the door frame of the bathroom there and some other bits of equipment. But the mirror Oh, webcam's having a hard time. The mirror is specifically what I wanted you to see. So, I have mentioned before that Mark Passio is doing a shadow work seminar in November, and I am planning to attend as a student. But I want to share with you between now and the seminar, because I'm really hoping you're going to take part as well and join me being a student and learning. But I'm going to invite you to train and look in the mirror. And again, ballet is the big topic of one of the big topics of Bikes, Buoys, and Ballet, episode 2, and it's really about what I'm going to call maybe what the old me would call it, but I'm still going to call it this today. I'm going to call it saving the divine masculine, and so I'm going to invite you to train and get stronger. And I'm going to show you a little bit in this presentation of why. But I'd like you to start to think about your setup for a movement practice, right? So you don't have to have everything that I have. Your stuff's going to look different. You're not going to have like a colorful chakra missing the color green mat and missing another shade of blue or indigo. You may not have that, right? There's other mats and things that you might use, but you might need a chair, you need some heavy items. Definitely, you're going to want a Swiss ball, right? 55 centimeter ball. You want that. But there's another thing that you're going to want is personally, a lot of people do modern dance. Or contemporary ballet on flat in socks. That doesn't feel good to me. So I have my ballet slippers on. So you don't have to have ballet slippers. You can just use your socks. But I like slippers much better than I like socks, probably because I've spent more years of my life studying classical ballet than I have studying modern. I'm pretty comfortable in jazz shoes because I spent a lot of time in those. But definitely, and especially in my adult life, I've taken much more adult ballet than I've taken anything else. So that doesn't mean that we're, training to be ballet dancers. My goal is to train, like I said, well, this is what I say to my kids, right? I say that I'm training strong boys and girls, not dogs. Pun totally intended. But I'm going to keep going with this presentation. I have to make it kind of short, but I do want to get a little bit of this, and then I'm going to record some movement for today to kind of get you thinking, thinking of primal movement patterns, thinking of how to orchestrate your training, thinking of getting your feet strong. But yeah, so we're gonna keep going, right? And you don't have to have on a leotard. This is just my favorite one because it's got this back, and my mom got it for me. To wear backstage when I'm working with my kids in gymnastics when we do our productions. So, yeah, I've worn it to class and other things, but that's specifically what she got it for. So, I'm going to keep going. But yeah, so you won't see me anymore. But definitely look for that video so that we can start some healthy movement practices. And if you don't know me and you're only familiar with the form of somatics called yoga, I'd really like to expand your view. I would like to expand your view to include Pilates, modern dance, or you might call it contemporary. I call it modern. I'd like to introduce you to some elements of ballet. I love kettlebells. Functional training is kind of a buzzword. It's been used for, gosh, I don't know, 20 years maybe. But we want to train healthy movement. Like I've said before, we want to go beyond just movement. Okay, but let's keep going with the slides. Are all boys welcome in ballet? Is the other question. And do you know your dance history? So I've tweaked this slide for episode 3, and I've actually already started recording episode 3. Like I said, I had a lot of issues with the second. Excuse me. I had issues with both. I was able to record and I was able to live stream half of episode 1 on Odyssey. The second half, no audio, and then I've never been able to upload the first episode that I recorded. after many attempts on YouTube or Rumble. So all that you have seen, if you're caught up, is part of episode one, which again, you've already seen this. Excuse me. All of episode one is there. You haven't seen, you've seen part one of episode two. Excuse me. So, like I said, I want to talk about gender. Gender is a natural law principle, first principles, creators' principles, natural rights, whatever you want to call it, right? Gender is everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. And that is a slide that, again, I took from Mark Passio. This is a picture of Rudolf Nureyev. And I talk a little bit more about him in episode three, but I specifically chose this image because Carter wanted to get suspenders sort of after seeing this image. He thought that was like, he liked suspenders before, excuse me, but suspenders on his ballet tights. And then I have referenced in episode one this book, Apollo's Angels, History of Ballet. And yeah, I have done a deep dive into ballet history. Perhaps you have, perhaps you haven't. But as I was reading this book and as I am raising my own son, I really have a lot of questions as to if all boys are welcome in ballet. And I know that some people are aware that perhaps high level football players train in ballet and that ballet is a good foundation for other things. But I don't know that everyone is educated in classical ballet. And I do think there's a lot of misconceptions. And I do not think that this video that I'm going to share is going to appeal to all boys. When I played this before, and like I said, I've recorded this a few times, Carter says he doesn't like the song and that doesn't appeal to him. So that's again my question. Does this appeal to all boys? And are we really supporting the masculine? Because I have a few different views on ballet based on my understanding of history. In 2016, I made the right choice after many years of very wrong choices. Like I said, I would like to express gratitude to Mark Passio. I have taken his How to Become the True Media, which is why I am here, and I am making my way through his content. But what I have learned thus far is that I was pretty clueless and I really did not think there was objective morality. And that was not a lack of religion on my part. That was not a lack of anything else. I think it was really just my own mind control, confusing indoctrination of, all of the things that happen growing up in America and, for the rest of the world as well. So, like I have shared before, and I talk a lot about this in episode one, I'm really grateful that I got to go through the journey of understanding my own gender and accepting myself, or Carter would not be here. And like I said, I want to get into that in more detail in further episodes, but I want to keep rolling for today. This is where you can currently find information about Carter's Country Club, as well as where I am going to be posting this podcast and these episodes and videos. Currently, I have been uploading videos to YouTube, my old YouTube, and to Rumble. I have been live streaming on Odyssey. I did change this slide for episode three, but when I did episode two, I hadn't put the little Odyssey logo there. Before 2020, I called my work Beyond Movement, and there were tons of videos, literally hundreds and, tens of thousands of views and all of the things. But I took all of that down and removed myself from the online space in 2021, which I talk all about in episode one. So if you want to get caught up in that, you can go finish episode one. And if you're absolutely unable to watch the whole thing, then just go ahead and skip ahead to part 13. It's just a little harsh. So now in 2025, I'm coming back into the online space because, like I said, I'm following the lead of Mark Passio, and I think this is the right thing to do. What can you do to promote world peace? Go home and love your family. Mother Teresa. So, the best thing that you can do, and again, I talk about this in episode one, if you, is be with your kids, support them. You want your kids to learn how to swim, then support them in swimming. Be active and involved. Currently, I'm a mother and a coach. For the last 4 years, I have dedicated my time to the children around me. During these years, I have not been using technology to spread my message, and I'm not on social media. I am entering back into the digital space because it is the right thing to do. I ask that you join us and Carter's Country Club. So these are the kids that I work with locally and in person. So I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited to see what we can create beyond this the small population that I'm able to interact with in person. Above all, learn to breathe correctly. So I want to end this first part of episode one because, like I said, I have to keep these kind of short. I want to end on this note today and to remind you that I want you to get your movement set up. Right? So get your, like I said in episode one, I'm going to shit all over the place. You should have a place that you can move in your home. I am not a fan of big, bulky sneakers. I don't think they're necessary for what we're going to do. I could go on for days about barefoot training. But like I said, if you want your feet to kind of move fluidly on the floor and use the floor, you may want some socks or slippers to support that type of movement. But beyond everything, we've got to be able to breathe. So we want to start with that. So before I end today, before you move into maybe moving some furniture around and creating your space, or maybe you have your space and you just need to, you know, clean everything off and get ready. I'm going to invite you to breathe. So we're going to, from here, I'd like you to place your hands on your ribs, right on your rib cage. And on an inhale, you're going to feel your ribs and lungs expand. And on an exhale, you're going to blow out of your mouth. So we inhale through our nose, excuse me, that wasn't very clear. And then you're going to exhale through your mouth like you're blowing out birthday candles. Okay, so we're going to inhale, ribs and lungs expand, and exhale, blowing out your birthday candles. So in yoga and many forms of asana, they teach you ujjayi breathing. So where you breathe in through your nose. There's a slightly audible sound because there's a little bit of constriction in the back of your throat, and then exhale, still audible, kind of like the sound of ocean waves, if you will. So we can breathe in that way for sure, and that is so valuable. There's so many breathwork practices that you can take on, but if we're going to talk about training and getting strong in our physical bodies, let's start simply by inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. And specifically because we're using this image here, this yellow mandala for Manipura chakra, for your core, for your will, for your personal sense of power. Let's not allow our belly to balloon out. Let's allow our ribs and lungs to expand out. And on that exhalation, you're going to gently draw you can think about it kind of simply like your navel to your spine, or you can think about that place 2 inches below your belly button and maybe an inch or two inside and drawing in from there. So thanks for playing today. Thanks for listening. Like I said, let's get your setup. I'm going to record a little bit of a different video to upload with some movement. And because, I'm going to use the same setup that I did in Beyond Movement, where I'm going to record without any audio and I'm going to do a voiceover because that allows me to breathe and do the things that I need to do to move well. And then I can speak over later. I can do a voice over my own image doing movements via video. And that's the best way that I have found to teach instead of attempting to speak with a microphone and move at the same time. All right. Thanks for playing. Thanks for breathing. I'll see you next time.